He charged me with resisting arrest.
Get that confidence in jail.
I object.
Good morning, fellow patriots. Welcome to another episode of Allegedly Bravo, where we're going to talk all about that Bravo true crime that's just so juicy and salacious that we love. I'm Lauren. Hello.
And I'm Cash.
Hello. Okay, so today we're going to talk about one Gina. Did anyone know how to learn? Did we learn her how to say it correctly?
Kirschenheiter?
I think it's Kirschenheiter. Oh, I feel so bad butchering this. Gina Kirschenheiter.
Gina the Casita Kirschenheiter.
Gina Casita. Yeah, I love that. Gina Casita. We'll just call her Gina Casita because it's like easier for me to say. Like, no offense to as a person with a crazy last name.
Yeah.
I just have a pit about, pronouncing it wrong.
It's those German last names, man. The Kirschenheiter.
The Kirschenheiters of the world. Okay, so before we get into this whole entire woman's life that's just actually horrible, I'm gonna issue for this whole episode a trigger warning because we are gonna talk about domestic violence. I'm gonna mark the time marks of when we talk about domestic violence so that people can skip.
Perfect.
So trigger warning. However, we're still gonna try to make it fun, right?
Make it fun, and I think it will definitely be educational because I think this is
too.
Both crimes that we're going to discuss are driving under the influence and DV. And I have significant experience related to domestic violence and DUI charges within the criminal justice system. I've prosecuted both, taken both cases to trial. And so I have a lot of knowledge, so I'll try to make it as educational and fun as possible and maybe share some anecdotal stories that I have from my time as a prosecutor, because there's a lot
in your file cabinet. And I have experience with domestic violence and divorce, which is kind of the trigger of her domestic violence situation, because of my job in family law. So I can talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The family law aspect, and you've got the criminal aspect, and knowledge is power.
Right.
So let's empower people to not get DUIs and to
that's
learn how to not fucking hit women. I don't understand how these people don't understand that that's against the law yet. So without further,
but it's a lot hard. It's a lot harder than you think
to get a domestic violence restraining order.
No, I'm just saying it's a lot harder because you said let's try to get people not to get DUIs and hit women. Yeah,
I know.
So,
yeah, I know.
It's very common.
It is very common. Okay. So I know we just did all that trigger warning and stuff, but right off the top, I know this is a complete detour and I promise we're going to talk about this stuff, but I have something that I need to say regarding Summer House. And this is actually going to be a call directly to Hannah Berner. So I need to say something directly to Hannah Berner.
Okay, go.
BernDog. I'm telling you this as your friend. You don't know me. I know you. We're friends. And you have got to cut your hair. It has to be chopped off above the shoulder. She needs a blunt cut, some balayage. She needs some volume added, and she needs a staple lipstick color. She needs to find a color. She needs to stick with it, and she needs to make that her brand. That's it. That's all I got.
No, you know what? I agree with you so much, but I would add, I agree with the balayage. I don't know if I necessarily agree with chopping it above the shoulder because she does have a masculine energy, and coming from somebody who else has a very masculine body, a blunt cut can be intense. But what I think she should do, she definitely needs a trim. She definitely needs a balayage. She needs to paint her nails. And I
okay, but I get that, but Cash, I'm gonna stick up for my girl here. It was a quarantine, and I know that some people got their. I know. You know what? Paint your fucking nail. Paint your nail. Get your best friend is Paige. She can
That's
paint your
what
nails.
that's what I don't understand. And don't get me wrong, paint, like going to the nail salon, it's quite expensive. And we obviously were in a quarantine for the last year. We weren't able to go get our nails done, but I bought a gel set from Amazon and I painted my nails myself. And
Wow.
but the thing is, like, I think some women can totally rock a plain nail. However, Hannah grows her nails out where she
Mhm.
doesn't have good nail beds. And it does not look good.
I think she's a former nail biter. If I were to guess, just judging by the picture of the finger, I think she was a former nail biter.
Oh, they just gross me out. And you know, I played volleyball with this girl and she had the most disgusting nail beds and she used to grow her nails out to the same length as Hannah and she never
Oh.
painted them. And also it's the fact that like she doesn't groom them or file them.
File them.
Like if you're gonna go with a plain nail, push that cuticle back, trim that cuticle, file it, give it some shape, make it even.
Put a clear coat on.
Put a clear coat on. It's $4.99 at Target.
Okay.
Protect and shine.
And I just want to reiterate that this is being said with just so much love, Hannah. I do love Hannah. I'm being your friend. Is Paige not telling her this?
That's what I don't get because Paige is so beautiful, so chic. She's honestly funnier than Hannah, I think. She's quick-witted. She's really smart. She has beautiful style. She's naturally pretty. All of her clothes, well, I don't know about now, but when she started off, like her whole shtick was that she would buy clothes for less that were like dupes of, you know, celebrity
designers.
Outfits. Yeah. And that's why she's so much more relatable and likable. And I really enjoyed Hannah the first season she was on, and I think the second season she was on. I really liked her, but there's something, I think she's just gotten too big. I think her ego's gotten too big. And I think she's a little bit of an actress. Just wait till you watch the reunion.
Oh, really? Well, I think that Hannah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to like break the fourth wall here. But I think in Hannah's real life, not on TV, she like actually wants to be in entertainment and wants to like have TV shows and stuff. So I feel like she thinks that that's like what they're looking for, like this acting thing. But I don't know. I wish she would just, I think it's the quarantine. I don't know. Cut your hair, paint your nail, pick a lipstick. That's it.
But see, now we're talking about two different things. We're talking about her physical appearance, which is easy to fix. But I was also talking about her personality and who she is as a person.
I know. But I'm a Hannah apologist, so I don't want to tell her to fix her personality.
No, what I'm saying is she was great in her first season because she came in as herself. But I think that she's one of those people that like listens to her podcast, watches the show, reads all the comments.
She edits her behavior based on what people are saying. Okay, so there's the other issue. It's stay true to yourself, Hannah. Cut your hair, paint your nail, stay true to yourself, pick a lipstick. That's all we need.
Stay true to yourself, but change the way you look 100%.
Keep the inside, change the outside. It's like literally we get it. We get it.
We're women supporting women. And
who also change their hair, get a lipstick.
Well, okay, think about it. If I was rolling around looking like that, would you let me keep going out and hanging out with my boyfriend, going out to the club looking like that? No, not that we go out to clubs.
I would
say, kidding, but
I know. This is what I would say. Listen, I like the way you look. This no lipstick, it's not working. I would suggest a lipstick. And then it would be your choice, but something's going on there.
Well,
and I'm happy for her.
The thing is, it's a dry lip. you know, it's
Here's the other thing.
needs a lip scrub.
I think it looks dry, but I think it's because she's freckly. So I think she has freckled lips.
Oh,
So I think that's why she needs to pick a lip color, because it would fill in where the. I love freckles, by the way. Like, I always have dreams that I have freckles. Like, I want them so bad. In my dreams, I have a freckled face.
you should be like one of those young TikTokers where they get the freckle pen and they just put a million freckles on their faces.
You can get freckles tattooed.
What?
But yeah, and I don't know if I'm that committed yet.
Yeah, well, I don't want people to think that we're totally ripping into Hannah. It was just our hot take for the day.
Hot take for the day, and said with love, I love Hannah.
I think that she looks the best when she's got her workout clothes on, like she's going out and she's in her element. I think that she's having a difficult time transitioning, because that's her style, is sporty spice. She's having a hard time transitioning that into everyday wear and, you know, more like reunion looks, confessional looks. But anyways,
so I'm gonna close that little segment by saying, Hannah, I love you. Get a subscription to Fabletics so that you can rock your athleisure lifestyle while in style.
No, speaking of leggings,
and that being said,
Beyond Yoga leggings, you guys, the greatest leggings ever created. They're mind-blowing.
Okay,
oh
send me a link.
My God, they're the softest, most comfortable, most easy to wear. They don't move. I work out in them.
Where'd you get them?
They're called Beyond Yoga. You just go to their website.
Oh,
hands down, they're hands down the best leggings I've ever worn. And they're probably similarly priced to Lululemon, but sometimes less expensive. Because Lululemon's just a absolute farce and is insane.
Lululemon, hot take, Lululemon is a cult. I said it.
Speaking of cults, did you hear the breaking news that came out this week? Yes.
Okay, so I've never watched that show, but I weirdly know a lot about this family, considering I've never seen the show before. Didn't he like molested his, trigger warning, his sisters as well?
Okay, so previously, I think it was back in like 2017, 2018, statements came out from the family. It was like this expunged police report that came out that set forth all these allegations about him unlawfully touching younger girls, some of them being his sisters. He admitted to it. But this new arrest stems from, so he was arrested on Thursday, which I think, what was Thursday, the 27th?
The 29th.
Was it?
No, the 28th.
Wait. My calendar, sorry, I'm in May already. It was the 29th. Yes, you're correct. Okay. So he was arrested on Thursday on charges of receiving and possessing material depicting the sexual abuse of children. He faces up to 20 years in federal prison. And so according to a statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office of Arkansas, Josh Duggar allegedly downloaded the illegal material, some of which involves children under the age of 12, from the internet in May. And so he was taken in on those federal charges. He has been arraigned, so he appeared by Zoom. I think it was a no bail, but the defense attorney came out and is asking for bail, and so they put it over for a bond hearing on Cinco de Mayo. But the charges themselves are shocking and absolutely disgusting. But the craziest part, he's married and his wife is recently pregnant, like just announced it, and it's their 7th child.
Okay, so first of all, I'm having just an explosion of thoughts, so you're gonna need to bear with me. I wrote some things down. The first thing, does anyone else think it's insane that someone who did something so disgusting is facing the same amount of jail time as Jennifer Shaw.
I know. But they're both
That's
disgusting,
not right.
vile acts.
They're both disgusting, vile acts, but child pedophilia
Oh, absolutely. But you
should
have
be
to,
way harder
Yeah.
than Jen Shaw.
no, I agree. And unfortunately, with pedophilia, it's really difficult to rehabilitate people because it's something in their psyche where they just can't change, unfortunately.
And then the other thought that I had is I was on TikTok
Mhm.
and there's a bunch of people talking about this, and people were saying that this poor woman that he's married to,
Mhm.
like, I guess when what's his name, Josh?
Mhm.
I guess when Josh was like a kid or something, he was always hypersexual, and allegedly that's when he was like molesting his own sisters and everything. And so people are saying that, like, to quickly replace like the molestation of his little sisters and to give him an outlet, that's why he got married so young and why she just keeps popping out babies. And people are saying that they think that the wife was being used as a way to like have this person release their sexual weirdness in a technically legal way. I don't know. That seems wild though.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because I think it's a religion. It might be a combination of two things, what you just said, and also the fact that he comes from an extremely religious family, and all of the Duggars have gotten married very, very young, and they all abstain from sex. And so I thought that was one of the main reasons why they get married young, and so they can start families and they can pop out 1 million children. But this case is gross. It's disgusting. I'm sure he's probably going to be, do you think he's going to be cellmates with Jared from Subway?
Oh my God. I mean, it's like, what on earth is wrong with these people? It's like, have they not seen how amazing tits are on a real adult woman? Like, I'm not even interested in women like at all. And I love a tit. I love a tit. I don't get it.
I have so many stories I can talk about, just cases involving
we'll put it behind a paywall. We'll put it behind a paywall. Exactly. Yeah. Like, we'll move on from this, but interesting. This is a crazy thing.
Interesting. Okay, so let's get into the Gina Casita.
Gina Casita. Casita.
So the first we're going to talk about is the DUI. Okay. Because I believe that came first. So she was arrested on January 31st, 2019 for DUI in Rancho Santa Margarita. Where is that?
Okay. So Rancho Santa Margarita is like, it's weird because I literally could never show it to you on a map, but I know you have to take the toll road to get there. And I know that once you get there, it's like Coda de Casa, you know, like a little too bougie to function. And like, but it's like, if people from, this is going to offend so many people. It's like when people from Riverside get money, they go to Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
And then when people from Huntington Beach get money, they go to Rancho Santa Margarita.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like just you saying people get money from.
I'm not even gonna apologize for that.
No, you know what? I think it's so funny. My boyfriend has some family and they came up because I'm originally from Southern California, but my boyfriend lives in Northern California. And I met one of his aunts one time. I was like, oh, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from Orange County. I was like, oh, where do you live? Oh my gosh, one of my best friends lives down there. And this is before I knew you. This is Alex, who I'm talking about. And she's like, oh, I live in Corona.
Oh, we don't claim you.
I mean, I'm from San Diego. I'm not from Orange County, but I even know that Corona off the 15 is not Orange County.
It's not. And that, you know what? And that's exactly why Real Housewives of Orange County was the first Housewives franchise. It was the first for a reason. It's the first because we say things like, after you get money and you come from Riverside, you move to Huntington Beach. Like, I just don't know what to tell you. It's pretentious here. It's annoying. I hate it. And yet here I am living and talking about it. So yes, she was in Rancho. We also call it Santa Margaritaville. Like, I don't know if
cute.
I don't know if that's something that is said outside of my family unit, but in my family, it's Santa Margaritaville.
Well, I'm sure she had quite a few margaritas when she was there because her blood alcohol level, you guys, the legal limit, as everyone I'm sure is aware, is a 0.08. Her blood alcohol level was a 0.20.
Wait, okay, wait. So, hold on, because I can't really, put it into perspective for me. How would I get a 0.08? Like, what would I need to do to get a 0.08?
Okay, so generally it depends obviously on the person. Tolerance plays a role. I'm not a criminalist, but
let's do like Gina's body type.
I mean, I don't even know if I could really do that, but the science, because I'm not a criminalist, but the science behind it. So generally you absorb when you have a standardized drink. I think a standardized shot is 1.5 ounces. The standard glass of wine is, let me just confirm.
Probably 6 or 8 ounces. That's my guess. I'll bet $1 that it's either.
Well, no, I'm saying in terms of alcohol. So I think a standard beer is like 4%.
Oh, percent. Well, she said she had wine. She was saying,
is that what she said?
It was either wine or mimosas, and it was she calls it a mom's leggings party, which to me that to me screams LuLaRoe. Do you remember LuLaRoe?
Yes.
When I tell you my mother was obsessed and still is with LuLaRoe leggings, like this woman has taken over every closet in our childhood home, stuffed with LuLaRoe leggings. If there's a day that's a theme, my mom has the leggings for it. So just knowing that Gina was shopping for leggings that my mother wears while drunk, that's the scene. That's where we're at. Okay, so a 0.08 is
so a 0.08. So back to standardized drink. So I think it's a 4.5% beer is a standard beer at a 12 ounce. A 5 ounces of wine is a standardized pour, and that's generally I think 10% alcohol, and then a standard shot is 1.5 ounces. And so like I said, you take into consideration tolerance, you take into consideration what time that person ate, their last meal. Like, these are all the questions. Like, I don't know if anyone's been pulled over for a DUI or been pulled over for suspected drunk driving, but the cops ask you certain questions, and all of that information is what a criminalist will take into consideration at trial in determining your blood alcohol. So you could be rising, you could be falling. There's all these different ways.
Okay, like what? Like, say I'm arrested. Like, what would a cop ask me? Like, touch my nose?
No. So a cop. So really back to the BAC. So you asked what her blood alcohol. So generally you absorb, if you're drinking a standardized drink, 0.02%. And if you're going on an empty stomach, you're absorbing at a 0.02%. So you would have to have probably 4 drinks to be at a 0.08 if you're having a standard glass of wine. Does that make sense? On an empty stomach?
So a 0.08, I'm drinking like a couple glasses of wine over a couple hours. I'm good.
So that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that it takes a lot to get to a 0.08. And
oh God, it's just like so much cheaper to get an Uber. Like, how much less humiliating would she have? You know what I mean?
Well, and a quick little segue. So when I was still working as a prosecutor, I was able to participate in a wet lab. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the wet lab was, what is that?
So a wet lab is this, it was put on by the police department at one of the local agencies I worked with. And what they do is, it's a controlled environment. There's a group of people. There's all these, you can't eat So ours started at 1 or 2, I think, p.m. in the afternoon. We had to stop eating at 10. So we had to come in on completely empty stomachs. We were only allowed to have water throughout the day. And the purpose of a wet lab is to have a controlled setting of drinkers. And then you go out into a room full of police officers and they do what are called standard field sobriety tests on you, which is what you mentioned, like the finger to nose, walking on one line, tilting your head back, counting backwards, you know. And so I went to do this and it was after work. So it was actually in the middle of the day. It was, I think, yeah, like I said, at 2. And so we get there, we get dropped off by one of our investigators, and it was myself and my colleague, and we're sitting there. They asked you what kind of drink you wanted. So I did a Tito's with soda water and lime. I brought my own bag of limes with me and my own lime press.
Of course you did. Like, you are Leslie's daughter. Like, of course you did.
Because there's nothing more offensive than when you go to a bar and you ask for a Tito's and soda and they give you one of those flimsy little limes.
Ew, that is like, you know, just been manhandled.
Ugh.
You know, with no delivery. Like, it's been manhandled and you can't even taste it.
Yeah. When I have a Tito's and soda, I put half of a lime in it. So anyways,
I get there,
I get there, I get my first drink. They're monitoring us. They take our blood pressure. We have to write our height and weight. And I had to be honest.
Yeah. You did? I would be like, I can't play this game anymore. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh. And so they give us our first drink, second drink, third drink. And I was what I thought wasted on my fourth drink. It was my third drink. And they don't tell you what your BAC is because so what they're doing is you're drinking and they're going around with a breathalyzer and you have to blow into it and they're logging it. They don't tell you where you're at, but they keep feeding you drinks
till you get to whatever level they need you at.
So later on that night, I found out when I thought I was wasted on an empty stomach at 3 drinks in and Tito's and soda, I was a 0.06.
So you could have legally driven home.
Yeah, but I was hammered. Like,
that's so scary to me. That's really scary.
Yeah. So the criminalists that I worked with, they opine that somebody's impaired for purposes of driving at a 0.05.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So it was really scary. And so after that, they fed me some food. We kept drinking. I got up to a 0.11 and I was hammered. And then by the time after I ate, so I was falling down that graph, 0.09 when my boyfriend came to pick me up. Honestly, if I were hanging out with a group of friends and we had just been drinking, ate some apps, the way that I felt at an 0.9, I would have driven. Yeah. So when you're drinking on an empty stomach, you're feeling the effects much greater. But then once you eat and you're coming down and you're falling, like I was falling from that 0.11 down to a 0.09, because I have food in my stomach, the symptoms, it all changes. You're feeling good.
You think you have like more stability and control, but really you're worse off.
So think about that. At a 0.11, I was hammered. Think what a 0.20 is. You're drunk.
Oh my God. So she had a 0.20 blood alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like you at a blackout, I guess.
Yeah, it depends though. It also depends on tolerance, like how you exhibit.
Right.
Signs of intoxication really depend on I think it depends on your tolerance, because you could be a 0.20 but still be able to function. And so there's so much science behind it, but I'm not going to bore everyone with it, but there's different ways that you absorb. I guess
moral of the story, it doesn't matter if you ate, if you didn't, if you had a drink, don't drive. It's always cheaper to Uber because you really never know, and God forbid you end up hurting somebody.
Honestly, I would not drink. My recommendation to everyone is I would never drink and drive after 2 drinks.
Yeah.
And just be aware of the amount of alcohol you're consuming, because sometimes when you go get a mixed drink somewhere, they're giving you a heavier pour than what would be a standardized drink. Just be aware of what you're consuming.
You would hope, because they charge you an arm and a leg.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, a first DUI, the standard fines and fees that are attached to it are $1,500 minimum.
Oh my God.
That's just court fees that are imposed once you enter into a a plea.
Oh
But
my God.
there's DMV fees if you want to get an attorney. Yeah, it's expensive.
So when I was like researching Gina's stuff, I learned that she had her punishment was 6 months of an alcohol program, 20 hours of community service, 3 years of informal probation, and a lost license for a year. So is there a reason why, like, could her punishment have been different based on her, like, what's her punishment based on?
Yeah, so there's different resolutions. So generally if somebody's between a 0.08 and a 0.1, where I worked, we would resolve it for what we call a wet and reckless. And so that just carries a 1-year probation. The fines and fees are less, the DUI program's shorter. But with her, it looks like she got a standard disposition for her first DUI. So she probably pled. A lot of people don't know this, but there are 2 vehicle code violations for somebody that drives under the influence. 1, driving under the influence of alcohol, and 2, driving with a BAC of a 0.08 or higher. So you can be convicted if you go to trial on both.
So usually would you get both, driving under the influence of alcohol and driving with a blood alcohol content?
So for her, when I was doing some research, it looks like the charges against her were filed in February, and I think she pled like in June or July. So she resolved this fairly quickly. So for purposes of resolution and just in the interest of justice, they would generally just plead to 1 charge, either the A or a B count. But statutorily for a DUI, you have to go to jail for 2 days on a first DUI. But with how high her BAC was, there's specific enhancements that attach to it. So the court, I've never seen a 6-month DUI program ever.
What do you usually see?
It's usually the wet class, which I think is 6 weeks, and then the 3-month DUI class, and then there's a 9-month DUI class, and then there's what's called SB 38, which is the 18-month class, which is for repeat offenders.
I wonder if her kid was in the car or something.
I don't know, but I mean, I'm assuming that given the 20 hours of community service and the increase in the DUI program, they took that into consideration, or they imposed that into the final resolution because of the high BAC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I did find, it's fascinating. Think about how many people, like, do you know anybody that's gotten a DUI?
Yeah, a couple. A lot, actually.
It's so common, and I don't think people realize that.
But it's like, it's so common with like no rhyme or reason, because it's like, just with like how accessible and cheap like rides and Ubers and all that stuff are, it's like, okay, putting aside like the harm you could do to somebody else, like, what a stupid way to like give the government money.
Oh my God, I know. But also,
it's like when you could just give like an Uber ride for like $10 to go home, an Uber ride the next day to go pick up your car, like, or like fucking do 6 months of AA because like some guy told you to, like, the principle of it.
The 6-month DUI program is generally through a program that's certified with the DMV, which costs an additional like $1,200.
So you're just shoveling out money. It's like so financially irresponsible. Sorry, it's financially irresponsible to drive under the influence. You're making a bad investment. You're just handing your money away.
And also, you could just simply kill somebody.
I know. Just because and that's just right. Shoveling your money away is the best case scenario.
Gosh, it's just so scary. I mean, it really, I noticed an increase with DUIs significantly, obviously during COVID, but the high
you don't want to take an Uber.
The high blood alcohol levels were astounding. The highest one I ever saw was a 0.43, and she was like a mom who was wasted during the day and crashed into a field. Thankfully, she didn't hurt anyone, but
is she okay? Like, is she alive?
Yeah, she's fine. But a lot of people deal with their depression or anxieties or hardships by,
drinking,
hitting that bottle.
Yeah.
But it sounds like from what I read that she's doing really well, and she really took it seriously, which I think is refreshing.
I think so too. And I think that like, she really took that as an opportunity to like be such a good role model. Like, the fact that she put this all on TV, because
Mhm.
like it would be so much easier to not, and she could be just like any of the Beverly Housewives people that are like, oh, I can't talk about this because we're actually in the middle of litigation. And it's like, okay, so was Gina, and she sang like a bird, and she used that opportunity to be like, hey, this is what I did. I drove drunk. I'll go with you to an AA meeting, Bronwyn. Like,
Yeah.
she used it as like, that's one of the reasons why I think that I get so mad when people say like that they don't want like Gina or Emily on Orange County. It's like,
I
I'm
love
sorry,
them.
I strongly disagree. I love them. I think having Gina on has just been such a breath of fresh air. She is gone so open book in her life with her DUI, with her divorce, with
Mhm.
her domestic violence, that it's like I have no other choice than to stand and support Gina Casita.
I agree with you because, when she had her first season with OC, I was like, oh, and then following
It
the
was weird with the husband. It was weird.
well, and then
But
with the
now we know
DUI,
why.
but the DUI and then the hair was the biggest crime of all.
But look at what she did. She even put that on TV. And not only did she put that on TV,
Yeah.
she owned up to it. She was like made her hair like a tagline and a way to be like, look at her progress when we met her versus now. This bitch has had a transformation. This bitch went into a cocoon. She went from a caterpillar, a chrysalis occurred. She's a butterfly. I'm fucking proud of her. I'm proud of her.
A butterfly with a beautiful bob now.
I know
Speaking-
it. See, Hannah, get on this train.
Get on the balayage bob train.
Cut your fucking hair. Take a page out of Gina's book. Cut your fucking hair.
Well, we've all had a hair transformation. And do you want to touch on that traumatic moment I had?
Oh my God. Okay, so we in law school like had no money, obviously, and we had a friend who, I take over all my friends' friends. So Cash had a friend who became my friend, and she was a hairstylist, and she would come over to Cash's house and do our hair in the kitchen after work, so that it was cheaper for everybody, and we all got to hang out. And Cash had like this desire to go bleach? What were you trying to
No,
achieve?
I wanted to go lavender.
Oh my God, that's right. You wanted to go lavender. And you already had a beautiful base. So the lavender shouldn't have been that hard to get to. I'm saying this as a woman who's never done my own hair other than like manic panic color. But it seems not that hard to go lavender.
No, given the fact that my base was a ashy blonde with a tint of soft lavender in it already, so you would assume it would have just been very easy to take it, just to the next step.
Up a notch. But instead, what happened? You went to rinse out. So she goes, okay, go ahead and rinse. Go ahead.
Well, go back, because when she originally showed me the color, I was like, that's weird. It kind of has like a pinkish red tone to it. And she goes, oh, don't worry. It's just the color that's showing in the bottle. It will come out lavender. It will come out like a soft purple.
Right. I mean, we were assured. I mean, I thought for sure it was going to come out lavender. And so we're like sitting there. It's you, me, our two friends, and we're all drinking, by the way, obviously, because we're like watching you get your hair done. What else are we going to do? And I'm on the couch with our friend, who's also my roommate at the time. And Cash comes out, and she looked like that Muppet. You know that Muppet that has the orange hair that's not Elmo? That's who you look like. Like the color of your hair was so unbelievably orange. I couldn't believe it.
Well, and the funny thing is that I saw it in the mirror, obviously, before I came out. And when I walked out, my hairdresser's mouth hit the floor. She was freaking out. Lauren and
biting
our
her
friends,
nails so bad. Oh, poor thing.
Lauren and her friend were hysterically laughing, like, what the literal fuck?
Yeah.
And I was trying to play it cool because I didn't want to embarrass the hairdresser who was also my friend, and I could tell she was freaking out. So I was like, look, whatever, like we'll just do like a bunch of washes, like we'll see where it's at tomorrow, and then we will, see how we can touch it up in the future. We lived in San Diego at the time, and she lived in North County, and so she had to drive about 45 minutes to get home. She sent me a text message and she's like, Cash, I can't even handle it. On the way home, all of the orange brake lights just kept reminding me of what I did to your hair.
Oh my God.
But to bring this back to Gina, what happened was because it was so orange, it was so hideous, we couldn't get the color out. So I was like, I still wanted to be lavender. So what she brought her friend over, they bleached the shit out of my hair. So I went fully blonde. It was gorgeous.
White, like see-through. It was really good.
We finally got the lavender look. It was spectacular. But then my hair did exactly what Gina's hair did, where it just broke off. And I had beautiful thick hair. And of course, this was like towards the end of our third year of law school, moving into the bar exam. And
so we were already losing hair at an impeccable rate.
Lauren and I used to share photos of our bald spots.
Mine's about to get even bigger.
And you guys, we looked like old men with receding hairlines, where we lost those corners of our hairline. And it was so sad.
From stress. It was so bad. So you were like losing hair and your hair was breaking. But see, like, I'm also going to just commend you right now, because it was really brave of you to share that hair journey, just like it was brave of Gina. And I think that it really does people a world of good. Like, this is something you really need to listen. If you are thinking of going bleach, just remember these two stories and just ask yourself if you're ready to join that club or not. If you're not, don't do it. Get away.
Yeah.
Get away.
And you get to that point where you're like, I can do it. Like, I just want to have this moment of fun. Well, that moment of fun of being bleach blonde for 2 months is going to impact your life for the next 2.5 years, because your hair is going to break off. You're going to have to grow it out, and then you're going to have to chop it. So you're going to have a short bob, which I ended up having to do. Now my hair is like beautifully long and balayaged, but I mean, 2 years or maybe 3, because it was just of recent that.
Well, and like, not to mention how expensive it is to maintain with the purple shampoo, the expensive hair conditioner, the Olaplex treatments, the pills you have to take, the supplements, because your hair is fucking broken off, and like the flyaways. So now you have extra product because your hair is broken. It's not worth it. If you want to do that, I guarantee you it would behoove you to spend the money on a wig like Kylie Jenner, like all these other people, because it's going to ruin your life. And this is a public service announcement. So all of you bitches who want to go bleach, get a wig. Hannah Berner, cut your hair.
Well, and I think the reason, obviously, that she went down this rabbit hole of bleach blonde madness,
she was going through a breakup.
Okay, well, let's talk about going through things, because do you want to tell the listeners what you do when you go through things?
My favorite thing to do to cope with trauma in my life is to just pick a color of manic panic and completely dye my hair some random color. And you know what? I will say, it always looks good on me.
It does, but it's shocking when you don't tell me, and then we randomly FaceTime, and I automatically, it's like the sirens are like, rear, rear. And I'm like,
I know.
Where are we at mentally, Lauren?
Are you okay? Your hair is purple.
What did your boyfriend say?
Oh, it was so cute, because I like dyed it purple, okay, like real purple, and I didn't tell anybody. And then I like come over to his house, and like my hair is bright purple, and he's like, should I be concerned? And I was like, no, why would you need to be concerned? And he's like, because when a woman does something like this to their hair, it means they're gonna like go through a breakup. And I was like, oh no, this is just other trauma. Like, this is like quitting your job, being on unemployment trauma. That's where we're at. Yeah.
that's
So
so
we've
funny.
all been there. Like we've all been there. I continue to go there. I was telling my roommate today I need to pick a new color because pink washed out, and I'm still in my mania.
What are you thinking? What color are you thinking?
Jen thinks teal. I think I liked pink. I might continue pink. I like to look at it as more of like when Taylor Swift went into her Lover era from her Reputation era, and she went from like wearing black and being depressed into
Yeah.
like wearing pink hair and being colorful and there being butterflies everywhere. That's what's going on here. So I don't think anyone should be concerned. I'm just moving into my Lover era.
Well, I think you should do a soft lavender and pink combo.
Oh, for sure. That's a great idea. I'll do
Yeah.
that. I'll order it right now.
Just promise me you'll never be one of those people that dyes your hair that lime green color. I just can't handle it.
Really? Because okay, because I do have to say, like, there
At
was
our
the
age.
light. I know, but the light from the TV was hitting my hair in a way that made it reflect that color. And I was like, that's really cool. And I would look good like that, like a Billie Eyelash stitch. Okay, I'll take my own advice and get a wig.
Yeah.
Okay.
buy a wig on Amazon for about $14 and let's
I'll
just
take
see.
my own advice and get a wig.
Okay,
so
let's move on
okay.
to the DV.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so trigger warning, we're going to be talking about Gina's domestic violence, and I'm specifically choosing not to use any clips, I think. What do you think? Of like her talking about it and stuff. Like, should we just put our words on it, or should we leave the descriptions in her own words? Like, I don't know how to really do it justice. Like in a respectful way.
I think we should read her statements, and I took down a few, and we can kind of reiterate her victim impact statement. Because I
Okay.
think it's important to put her words
yeah,
out there.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Okay, so we're doing our best. We're issuing a trigger warning, and ready? Gina Casita.
I know.
So Gina Casita was going through a tumultuous divorce, and I could just like I've never been divorced and my parents aren't divorced. So my first experience with divorce was like doing them by working in family law. And just like knowing what she's going through on paper, and then knowing that like it's just like even worse because it's on TV. Like I just feel so bad for her. So she was doing what I imagine a lot of divorcing couples do, is she was attempting a reconciliation with Matt, who had an affair on her. And so they had been dating again while still in a divorce situation for about a month. And Gina said that they were hanging out in the morning, and that morning they had a little altercation and she asked him to leave. But later that night, they had plans to go to dinner and celebrate a friend's birthday. So he had apologized to her after their morning altercation. They got on good terms and they went to dinner to celebrate their mutual friend's birthday. When they were on their way home from the birthday, Gina said that they began having an argument in the Uber on the way home. And the Uber driver asked her ex to get out of the car. So Gina continued in the Uber home, and he was calling her. The ex was on the side of the road going to get another Uber, but he couldn't get another Uber because she was in the car that his phone called. So he couldn't get an Uber until she got out of hers. She gets home. Allegedly, his phone dies. So he had to walk the rest of the way from however far away he was. I'm not sure. And according to Gina, she was saying, I was watching her on the reunion talk about this, and she was saying that like she thinks that the walk without the phone and after being in a fight just made him more mad and more mad and more mad. And he walked to her house. She was asleep upstairs in her room, and next thing she knew, he was in her bedroom. And
oh my God.
I know. and she didn't hear him come in. She didn't know he was coming there. And just that alone in and of itself is like my nightmare. It's so terrifying. And the thing that I wish people could understand, like this is me coming from like my family law legal background. Just because like you might think that it's your house that you're coming into, you're not. Like that's Gina's space. Like that's Gina's home. He doesn't have, just because they're dating, access to walk in and go right into her bedroom. So I just want to tell people, like, if someone's doing that to you, that's wrong. It doesn't matter if you're dating or you're married. Nobody has the right to just like walk into your space and threaten you when you don't expect it. Like bare minimum, that's wrong.
You know what this reminds me of? It's just taking me back to a DV case that I worked on where I think it's important to note as well that this is all alcohol related as well. Like I think they were really drunk, or he was really, really drunk. And so it reminds me of this case I had where this guy had a crazy alcohol problem. He had multiple DUIs that were open. And then I was reading through the police report for the domestic violence restraining order violation. And as I'm reading through it, I had to go back and read it again because I was shocked. This guy comes into his wife's house, well, ex-wife's house, because they're separated. So it's her space, exactly what you're talking about. He climbed through the attic.
Oh my God.
And crawled into bed with her.
Like this is literally, this also happened like on a smaller scale, on below deck, sailing yacht. One of the guys went to bed and one of the girls went and climbed into bed with him, and he like didn't know that she was going to do that. And even though they live in the same house, in the same space, like that's still like a violation of his space. Like she wasn't invited into that bed. And it's just like, if like it's domestic violence, like it's threatening, it's breaking in, it's like invading your space when you didn't know that your space was going to be invaded. So like just it's really unfortunate. Like I'm sure like a lot of people were watching Gina talk about this and discuss this and go, oh my God, that's so horrible. Like, because it's, oh my God, that's so horrible. But this is just the beginning, and this happens to a lot of people. So like it's horrible and it's too prevalent.
Okay,
you know?
so he's in the bedroom. What happens next?
So he's in the bedroom. So she said that he's getting madder and madder, and Gina Casita gets like obviously scared, and she does what I would probably do, and that's run across the street or to her neighbor's house, and she's ringing the neighbor's doorbell and like asking them to call the police. Okay, that's so terrifying. She says it's like the middle of the night, they just got back from drinking. She's ringing the doorbell, and her ex comes up and grabs her and drags her back into the house while she's kicking and screaming.
Oh my God, that's another nightmare. Somebody coming up behind you and grabbing you and pulling. You know when you were a kid and you would run up the stairs and your fear was like somebody was behind you and gonna grab you and pull you down? Like she literally lived.
She literally.
So,
I mean, after that, like I would imagine there's just fear of anyone being behind you, because it's like, it's so vulnerable. So I just, God, this poor woman. So that's like what she spoke on.
Okay.
So that's what we know. But she did say another thing that I just want to say. While she was speaking on this, she says it's possible for this guy, her ex, to go to jail for up to 7 years if he gets convicted of this. So just based on Gina's fear and little tidbits that she has invited us to know, like we don't know what happened when he dragged her back in or what he said to her, any of that. The fact that it's possible that he spends 7 years in jail for causing someone that much like fear, and Jen Shaw's facing 20 years in federal prison, it's just, I don't understand sentencing at all.
Yeah.
That it just seems so much worse. But anyway, this is what Gina said. that, because she was also saying that it was really hard for her, obviously, to cope with all of this like trauma, when it was in all of the newspapers and on every Instagram and on every news outlet and everything. She said, when things like, she said this to Andy at the reunion, when things like this happen, it's everywhere and we get no protection.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if she's calling out Bravo for not protecting their cast members when they go through something crazy and it becomes like so public.
Yeah, I don't know if she's calling out Bravo or she's just saying in general, like victims aren't protected, but something I want to talk about. So really quickly, he was arrested on charges of 273-5 domestic violence, which is corporal injury against the spouse causing traumatic condition, and felony false imprisonment. So I'm really fascinated by the charges, and based on in reviewing the limited information that we have, because a felony 273-5 is significant, at least in the area of California that I practice in. Like, there had to be some type of traumatic condition to the face, to the arm, like to some type of body part, whether that's a broken nose, a broken orbital bone, an eye. Like, there has to be generally it's a visible injury. And for felony false imprisonment, I mean, I'm assuming he must have locked her in the bedroom and didn't allow her she didn't have a reasonable means of escape.
It seems like, would that count from when he got her and dragged her back inside from the neighbor's house? She obviously didn't want to be there.
He dragged her into the house?
Yeah.
Okay, so he must have dragged her into the house and like locked her in a room, or she must have not been able to leave the area where he dragged her back to, if that makes sense. So, I mean, these are really, really significant charges, but unfortunately, the criminal justice system, what happens is we look to people's criminal records and you look at the defendant themselves, and he probably doesn't have a criminal record at all. It sounds like this was his first incident. And the fact that it got this bad leads me to believe that there was probably a history of domestic violence previously where he was hitting, or I mean, allegedly, I'm assuming there was probably something going on there that was dark, because she did say that when she looked into his eyes were black, and she didn't recognize the man that was in front of him or in front of her. And she said she was super, super scared. And so during that reunion, when she said, I don't feel like we're protected. So victims have specific rights under the California Constitution. It's called Marsy's Law. And it was implemented back in, I think, 2008. And it's something that, as a prosecutor, we take very, very, very seriously. It's an area of, I very much enjoyed working on domestic violence cases because I love the opportunity to speak with victims of domestic violence, and most of them being women. A lot of these women coming from broken families, or, you know, don't have any family. And so they really rely on their significant other, especially during COVID. It was really difficult because there are a lot of women that were financially dependent on their spouse or their significant other. So, you know, there'd be a domestic violence incident, they would report it, and then you would go to prosecute, and they said, no, I don't want to participate in the prosecution because, you know,
he pays for my home.
Yeah.
I'll be homeless.
So there are a lot, the DA's office are so pro-victim. There's victim witness advocates, and they take Marsy's Law very seriously, which allows a victim of domestic violence to really have the same access to the criminal process as a defendant does, if that makes sense. So like, they have to be notified of hearings.
Because usually it's like just the government, like, you guys take care of it, and they're just, because it's a crime against the government when it's a criminal thing, not a crime against a person. So you're saying that, like, they allow the victim, like, the chance to be sort of part of this whole process and part of the justice.
Yeah, and so whenever a police officer responds to a domestic violence incident in California, somebody has to be arrested, because it's just part of the law. They have to take somebody into custody to diffuse the situation, and they have to separate them. And so when somebody is initially arrested, a victim always has a right to an emergency protective order. And generally, a police officer will give you what's called a Marsy's card, which lists all of your rights and generally gives resources that are available to victims of domestic violence. And so in this case, since he was actually formally prosecuted, Gina probably had a victim witness advocate assigned to her case, which that's somebody in the DA's office that reaches out to you, lets you know the resources they have available. You're entitled to restitution. And in this case, it sounds like she actually had a lawyer, a victim's attorney that was there just to make sure that, you know, she was represented and her voice could be heard. And at sentencing, a victim always has a right to address the court. Always has
Okay.
a right.
So that's like what she was talking about like all last season when she was like, I don't know if I should give a statement. Like I want to give a statement, but so that would be like her giving a statement to the jury or like to who?
No, so in this case, he took a plea. So it was just an agreement between the defense and the prosecution. He decided not to go to trial. And I will say it's very big of him to at least take accountability for his actions. It seems like they really worked together after this incident and that we're able to establish a good relationship with one another and co-parenting. And so, you know, it was an opportunity where she got justice because he decided to hold himself accountable and enter a plea. But it's crazy because I think he pled to 2 felony counts. Like they didn't reduce it to misdemeanor at all. So under the law, it's 1203, is it 1203.097 or the requirements under the penal code that list out what a defendant is required to do with a DV conviction. And so one of those is a 52-week batters intervention course. I can't say it. Batters intervention course. Jesus.
Batterers intervention course. So someone who performs battery against somebody.
Well, it's imposed for domestic violence. And so it's a 52-week class. It's very strict. You have to go once a week. They monitor your attendance. And he was placed on 3 years of formal probation. There was a peaceful contact order that was issued, which is reasonable in this case because it sounds like they are co-parenting. So a peaceful contact basically means you guys can go about your daily lives, talk to each other on the phone. You could be married to each other and live in the same house. It just specifically means you cannot harass, strike, threaten, molest, stalk, or harass this individual that's a protected party. And so that's what they have here. So it sounds like they're both very much moving forward. I think he was sentenced to 180 days in county jail, but I think you can do it by ankle monitor, which is very common for first-time offenders.
Can I talk about the family law half of this?
Yeah, because we didn't even talk about
right. So the interesting thing about you saying, oh, like he pled, like they did a plea deal, like he didn't like do trial or whatever. Coming from a family law background, I can see exactly why he did that. That was all because of the divorce. Like 1000% because of the divorce. So
because family law cases, if there's an open criminal case, a family law case always trails the criminal matter.
And right, which means that like they can't move forward until that criminal thing has like completely been handled. That's also why a lot of people who are in domestic violence situations, they get a family law, they go through their family court to get their domestic violence restraining order, because it's quasi criminal, but the award is just the restraining order instead of like jail time and all that, because then they get to move forward with the divorce and stuff. So when her and Matt, I'm sorry, I don't want to use his name, when her and her ex, when Gina Casita and her ex went through their divorce, it's all over these different tabloids and stuff, like they have to use a third-party communication service called Talking Parents. Okay. So many people use Talking Parents, and literally it's just like so crazy that like people are making it such a big deal. I guarantee you that like probably 50% of divorced parents communicate using Talking Parents.
Wait,
it's
so
not that it's,
what is Talking Parents?
It's like an app that the court asks you to download and someone has to pay for it, and usually it's whoever's earning income. Mainly it's just so that it's for parents who aren't good at communicating, which is literally all people who are getting a divorce are not good at communicating. And it's an app that just, it tells you, it automatically tells you when something was read. It tells you when the message was sent, when the person read it, if they downloaded any attachments. You can upload, like if your kid gets sick and goes to the doctor, you can upload the doctor's note so that both
Okay.
parents can see it. Because a lot of parents like, Allie said that Johnny has a rash and I don't think he has a rash. And she took him to the doctor and it's inappropriate. And then Allie can upload the doctor's note so that the judge can certify that it's like, it's just like, because people are deleters and he didn't ever read my message. So it's like, you know what? It's just a platform. Everyone relax. It's not that they're being bad parents by using talking parents. Everyone should use talking parents.
Okay.
In my opinion. Okay. So anyway, part of another thing is spousal support really depends on domestic violence. Like spousal support there's like a make or break with domestic violence. Like if Gina was the violator, there's absolutely no way she would ever get spousal support. Like if you commit domestic violence, you can't obtain spousal support. So don't go hitting people. And by the way, when you're getting a divorce, keep in mind, everyone who would be the spousal support receiver, not the payer, don't be acting a fool up in their phone, slapping their girlfriends or body checking whoever their new side hoe is, because they're going to say that was domestic violence. They're going to ask for a restraining order and you won't get spousal support. And I guarantee you need it. Okay. Because I guarantee you're not going to want to go get a job because it's hard out there. So that's what I have to say about spousal support and domestic violence restraining orders.
So I think they got rid of the domestic violence restraining order, right?
Well, they still have, according to what I read, the restraining order is still in place, but they co-parent with it.
Okay. I thought